Hey everyone, and welcome back to another low elo tier list video, and this time it's all about patch 12.16. Yes, we really are on the 16th patch of season 12 and getting ever closer to the World Championships and of course that super exciting preseason where lots of things can change. For now though, let's keep it current and take a look at how this patch is going to pan out. So before we get into the video, don't forget to head to our website and download that desktop app if you haven't already. Our companion app will help you out with guides, matchups, combos and lots more. And you can even see your own win rates against certain champions and of course all those other helpful statistics to help you win more games. So click the link in the description to get all set up with us. Now let's start off with the top lane as usual then, and in the God tier we have Darius and Shen. In the S tier we have Poppy, Garen, Wukong, Ornn, Mordekaiser, Olaf, Aatrox, Singed and Sejuani. Lots of super strong champions in that top lane right now, so plenty of choice for all of you top mains to pick from. Malphite and Zyra move back into the B tier, Yone and Gwen fall off into the C tier, and Camille and Yorick move from A to B. So Shen is actually probably one of the best top lane champions in the game right now. His win rate is super impressive and he's only getting better and better. Shen is a top lane duelist who has the ability to teleport around the map and save his teammates with that big shield and the teleporting ultimate. When he gets there, he just uses his taunt, locks everyone up, and also uses his W to negate any incoming auto attacks. Not only can Shen save and protect his teammates from across the map, but he also has fantastic dueling potential. And if he does get a few kills and assists from across the map early game, he's going to take those back to the top lane and become impossible to fight for the enemy top laner. Shen really is Mr. Consistent from that top lane. He really doesn't have that many bad matchups, and even the bad ones he always has a way to overcome them. In the majority of lanes, you can either just farm and roam, or you can actually end up setting up ganks and killing them on repeat and helping you and your jungler get fed. Whichever your playstyle, whatever way you like to play the game, however you like to play the game, Shen is a fantastic one to have in your top lane arsenal. Another fantastic choice to go for in the top lane right now is Singed. Another champion with one of the highest win rates in the game, and is pretty damn easy to play. The main thing to think about on Singed is not inting in the early game, because as soon as you get those few items, you get your ultimate, you get those early defenses, you get that poison damage, you're going to easily be impactful without too much effort. Now Singed is basically just all about running around in circles, like literally that is his playstyle, and all you got to do is pop your ghost and your ultimate, run into an enemy team and fling back the highest priority target back into your own teammates. Or even you could just stay in the top lane and just bait everyone to come and chase you, and they just run around in circles, spam that laugh emote and get the free elo. Singed is another champion that doesn't really have too many bad matchups. He always has a way to get through them, and if they really are that bad, he can just roam down to the mid lane or even the bot lane and just gank, because Singed ganks are insanely effective. Even if you do get behind on Singed, you're still going to be useful for these reasons. So if you're not playing him this patch, why not? Malphite has definitely not been as popular recently, but these buffs will help him out slightly. So the great thing about Malphite is he's always going to be impactful with that ultimate. You could literally do nothing all game and just press R in the right moment against 5 enemies and win the game for your team. It really is that simple. There is no better top laner to pick if you're auto-filled than this guy. Sit in lane and farm. That's pretty much it. Get to level 6, roam around with your ultimate, or just wait for team fights and do your job there. The main thing to think about with Malphite is matchups. He's like one of the best champions in the game if you get him against an attack speed based AD champion. However, some of his bad matchups are completely unplayable. Sylas, Sejuani and Mordekaiser, there are so many champions that can absolutely destroy Malphite in lane. So just make sure you pick him in the right games. Into that jungle now then, and in the God tier we just have Fiddlesticks. In the S tier there is Diana, Trundle, Master Yi, Amumu, Rammus, Volibear, Rek'Sai, Kayn and Bel'Veth. Yes, Bel'Veth moves back into the S tier. The new Udyr is moving up into the A tier, and Warwick and Zac move down to the A tier to join him. So the new Udyr is out this patch, and there's going to be a hell of a lot of people playing it. So make sure you're mentally and physically prepared to remember just how horrible playing against Udyr can actually be. This new rework is not too much different from the old one. The main change is that he can now awaken any of his 4 abilities to gain bonus effects, and you can see that awaken bar underneath his health bar. His Q is his claw stance that grants him bonus attack speed and damage, and if he awakens it, he deals AoE splash damage or just more damage to a single target if he's 1v1. His W is similar to previously. He gains a shield and gets lifesteal and health back when he attacks, and when it's awakened, these effects just get a bit stronger. His E is now his stampede stance, and it's again very similar to his old bear stance, granting movement speed, a single target stun with a small dash, which can be used on multiple targets one after the other. The main difference is now though, when he awakens it, he gains more movement speed and CC immunity for its duration, which is pretty crazy, right? Udyr's new ultimate is his Storm stance, which basically just deals AoE magic damage, and if you awaken it, it will follow Udyr's most recent target and deal some more AoE magic damage and max health damage too. So there you have it, that's the new Udyr. Now at least you guys have an idea what you're up against when he's in your games this week, if you hadn't already checked it out. Now anyway, talking of modern and crazy League of Legends champions, Bel'Veth is tearing it up in solo queue at the moment. She has crazy mobility and damage and scaling, and if you lack crowd control against this champion, she can easily 1v5. Especially in that unorganized chaos in solo queue. Now Bel'Veth's release has been a bit up and down. At first she was really weak and then she was absolutely broken, but now with a few changes and nerfs, she's in a really good place. And now she's kind of bouncing back and people are realizing just how abusable she is in solo queue. Bel'Veth absolutely tears through objectives like Rift Heralds and Dragons, and this means she's one of the best junglers in the game right now just because of how tanky those dragons are at the moment. You want to get yourself a Blade of the Ruin King and then you can basically just go for like this tanky bruiser build. You've got so many different options and whichever one you build, you're always going to be super useful on. If you haven't tried Bel'Veth, she's a lot easier than she looks. She's very basic and simple to pick up, and she's very easy to be impactful on, so give her a go. Then we've also got Diana, the jungler who's been absolutely destroying the Rift all season. Well, this patch they are finally nerfing her and aiming to remove her ability to play full tank, but I don't think it's going to do that just quite yet. They're nerfing the base damage on her passive and it's just not really going to be enough to turn this champion down too much, as let's face it, she's been absolutely busted for far too long. Riot were originally going to add some AP buffs to this patch too alongside the base damage nerfs, but thankfully they scrapped those because AP Diana is still just as strong as it's ever been. It's just been overshadowed a bit by the tanky setup because of how much easier it is to win games on. But Diana jungle mains, don't be too worried because all you're going to have to do is flash ER into a team after building full AP and win the games that way instead. Now let's move over to the mid lane now. In the God tier we have Swain and Zed. In the S tier we have Anivia, Vex, Ahri, Victor, Zilean, Diana and Sylas. Zoe moves back into the B tier following on from these buffs, and Vladimir and Seraphine move from B to A. Echo, Veigar and Talia fall from A to B, and Orianna moves down into that C tier. Zed is one of the best mid laners in the game right now across all ranks and has been since those changes that came in patch 12.15. A little bit less energy cost on his E and a bit more range on his W, and by a bit more I mean limitless, then that's all it's really taken to make Zed absolutely bonkers. Sometimes the smallest of buffs or nerfs can make the biggest of differences, and this is really what's been the case for Zed this patch. Zed has always had one of the biggest ban rates in the game since his existence, and that's because people just hate playing against him. Well, right now over the last few weeks this is just getting more and more obvious. Zed has insane early kill threat with his passive, his WEQ combo, and then when he gets his ultimate he can start diving and killing and snowballing the game super easily. Zed has definitely dethroned Qiyana as the new king of the assassins in the mid lane, and his stats really don't lie. He's winning a lot of games, so if you haven't played him yet, maybe it's time to revisit him. That's when he's not banned anyway. One champion that some players are absolutely abusing right now is Vladimir. He was originally going to get buffed this patch, but after everyone in the League community deciding to tell Riot just how broken he already was, they decided against it. And honestly, we're pretty relieved about that one. Vladimir is not the most popular champion in the world, and a lot of people just don't really know how to play him. Now, he's not actually very difficult, he's pretty easy to play, but he's not that easy to actually be impactful and carry games with. Not until you've got those core big damage items anyway. However, good Vladimir players are absolutely tearing up the Rift in the mid lane at the moment. As long as you get the right matchup, you're going to be a sustaining powerhouse in the mid lane that is impossible to gank and that scales into an absolute terror in the mid to late game. Believe it or not, Vladimir's strongest part of the game is actually the later part of the mid game. This is when he really packs a serious punch and he can pretty much flash into entire teams with this big one-shot combo and kill absolutely everyone. If you haven't tried it yet, give it a go. One champion that no one will argue with being one of the best champions in the mid lane right now is Sylas. This guy's been living his best life for a few patches now, and it doesn't seem to be changing anytime soon. Sylas is probably one of the best blind pickable champions in the game right now, and we definitely couldn't say that in the past because there were some champions that would absolutely destroy him in that mid lane matchup. Now though, if it really is a bad lane, he just roams. He just avoids the lane, he just kills everyone else instead, and he comes back to lane and just kills the mid laner afterwards. However, in most lanes, he can just kill that enemy in the mid lane on repeat from level 3 onwards. Like, it really is that easy. Sylas's damage at level 3 with his passive and his basic abilities is super high, and there's not many champions that can beat him here without a huge outplay. Now, to top all of this off, and Sylas' strengths, his ultimate makes him one of the most flexible champions in the game when it comes to those mid to late game teamfights and skirmishes. You've got so many different ways that you can win games based on which ultimates you can steal and then use to carry games by yourself. And if you enjoy Sylas as much as most people do, then now's the best time to abuse him. Let's move down into the bot lane now, and in the S tier we have Jhin, Twitch, Sivir and Seraphine. Caitlyn and Tristana both move up from B to A, and Veigar falls down from A to B. So Caitlyn has actually been creeping up in the tier list recently. Now, we haven't moved her up yet, but her win rate has slowly but surely been steadily improving. To add to that, Caitlyn's had some more buffs this week, and we think these could be the buffs that put her back into that good competitive position. Now, she might not be absolutely broken, but she's definitely going to be played a lot more often and going to have a lot more success too. The fact that Zyra is also being buffed means Zyra Caitlyn is going to return to being one of the most terrifying, most harassing, poking, horrible lanes to play against in that bottom lane. Caitlyn has always been a great lane bully with that extended range. Now the problem with Caitlyn is that even though she's a fantastic lane bully in the early game, she falls off so hard in the mid game, so you really need to be ahead, or at very least even. And this isn't going to change. If you do fall behind in the early game as Caitlyn, you are not going to be strong until you get that 4th or 5th item. And there's always going to be those games which you just feel like you do absolutely no damage to those tanks and bruisers. But if you can play smart enough, you can get ahead, get fed in the early game, you're going to win a lot of games of Caitlyn this patch. So get practicing. Tristana is another champion that's been a bit underwhelming recently, but has been slowly, steadily improving. Tristana is all about that early game. To be honest, you just jump on your enemies level 2 or 3, kill them on repeat, and then just snowball your lane stupidly hard. Tristana's bomb allows her to take turrets and plates so easily. So if you start winning lane and killing your enemies, you can easily take those plates and just accrue so much of a gold advantage. Before you know it, you've got a Kraken Slayer and a Phantom Dancer before your enemies have even completed one item. And then the game is basically over. Now, despite feeling a little bit clunky compared to a lot of modern champions, Tristana is without a doubt a fantastic pick, and these buffs are going to make her even better. Now, one of the most underrated champions in that bot lane, and has been for a while now, has actually been Kog'Maw. Now, when the durability patch first hit, everyone knew just how broken this guy was. However, after some nerfs, people just kind of started forgetting about him. But he's actually sitting at a really impressive win rate. Now, he's not quite as consistent as the likes of Jhin and Twitch and Sivir, but if you pick him in the right games, he's actually probably better in some scenarios. If you do manage to get Kog'Maw with a Lulu or a Janna or a Yuumi, you're going to have even more fun. So if you do need a tank melter in your games, then definitely don't forget about this guy. Now let's finish off with those supports. And in the God tier, we have Janna and Sona. In the S tier, we have Zilean, Senna, Renata, Taric, Lulu, Pyke, and Zyra. Yes, that's right, Pyke and Zyra move into the S tier, and Thresh moves up to the A tier. Blitz, Bard, and Nami all move down from S to A, and Yuumi and Brand move from A to B this week. Zyra has by no means been weak recently, but people have been forgetting about her a bit. Well, I can assure you that this week that's not going to be the case because she's been buffed and she's only going to get better. Zyra's E will no longer root her when she casts it, which is going to be pretty damn insane. This is probably one of the best quality of life buffs we could have seen for Zyra, and it could just tip her over the edge a bit. Zyra is a fantastic support when paired with other pokey long-range lane bullies like Caitlyn or Ashe, and those plants can pack a serious punch if you leave them unchecked. Damaging supports are a fantastic way to carry in solo queue, and Zyra is amongst some of the best already. Despite not being played that much, her win rate is already around a 52.5% win rate across most ranks, which is really all you need to know. So be ready to see a lot more Zyras and be ready to ban it if you're not a fan of playing against it. Sona has not really fallen off this season, and despite being a lot less popular than she was at the start of the season, she's still just as good. Sona's scaling sustain is some of the best in the game, and although she might not be quite as popular as Janna, and for good reason because Janna is broken, she's still absolutely tearing it up in solo queue at the moment. You can either build a bit of damage and max your Q, or you can build full utility and max your W first, and either way your damaging and shielding throughout games is only going to get better and better as the game progresses. There's very few support champions in the game that can have just as much impact as Sona in the late game, and as long as you don't die early and let all of that fantastic utility go to waste, then you're going to be incredibly impactful in those late game teamfights. Spam those shields, spam those heals, spam those slows, and use that ultimate wisely, and you will be rewarded in lots of elo this patch. Finally, we have to talk about Leona because Leona is really starting to get back into the scene again. She has been absolutely non-existent since patch 12.10 when they added all that durability. She just didn't have the damage to actually kill anyone, but slowly but surely with a few buffs here and there, she is making a bit of a return. This patch, they're also buffing Evan Shroud. Now it is a bit of a situational item because most people will go for a locket, but in those really snowball heavy kill lanes, this is only going to make Leona even more viable. Leona is one of the scariest and most threatening supports to play against in the lane phase, and as the game progresses, she just stuns you on a lower cooldown. I mean, in the late game, she can stun you with her Q every few seconds. And that's not even talking about her ultimate's potential to lock down entire teams. She has inbuilt durability, a bit of mobility in her E, and of course that fantastic catch potential too. If you are an enjoyer of Leona, then now is the best time to revisit her. So that's going to wrap up our low elo tier list video for patch 12.16 this week. We hope you enjoyed this patch and let us know in the comments who you think is going to be super strong this week. Don't forget before you go to head to our website and check out those tier lists for yourselves, and of course look at all of our other expert content we have on there for you. Thanks again for watching guys, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care.